Hey guys, it's Tom Higgenson from the band Plain White Tees, and this is I Effin' Love That Song podcast. Each week I'll have an amazing songwriter join as a special guest to discuss their stories behind some of your favorite hit songs. Hanging out here with Brandon Lowry, has written a number of amazing songs. Take Me Home by Cash Cash, love those guys. Written with Kylie Minogue, Boyz II Men, Avicii, Britney Spears. Produced one of the greatest songs of all time, Video Games by Lana Del Rey. But you wrote Stereo Hearts by Gym Class Heroes featuring AdamLevine, and I fucking love that song.
Thank you.
Tonight we're going to talk mostly about that song, but you've got a lot I want to dive into here. I kind of want to talk about other stuff first, and then we'll get to Stereo Hearts. A great way to start here with the most obscure thing.
Okay.
I think there's 20 people in the world that have heard this song, and I'm one of them, but Halfway to Heaven by Panama Wedding.
Yeah. All right.
Dude, I love Panama Wedding, and I have a little side project called Million Miler that's 80s synth pop.
Okay.
And Panama Wedding is one of my favorite artists that is kind of doing that 80s thing. And so when I saw that on your Wikipedia, it blew my mind because he's a very small artist.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah, he was on Glassnote Records. I'm not sure if that's still the case. It's been a while since I've talked to him or anything like that. But at the time, he was on Glassnote, and yeah, he's got heavy Phil Collins 80s vibes,
oh, yeah.
which I love. His story is crazy. He used to be a banker on Wall Street or something, and he just quit everything and was like, I'm going to be an 80s pop musician, style, and worked out.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, that song I wrote with Peter, who's Panama Wedding basically, is him. Yeah. And then the band is around him. And then my friend Kellen, who's this amazing, or Pom Pom, she's a really talented producer in New York, and she's still very active in the scene. That was the first cut that she ever had on somebody else's album. But yeah, it was a super fun song to work on. Glad you like it.
Another quick little interlude before we get to Stereo Hearts. If I'm Dancing by Britney Spears.
Yeah.
So one of my great friends, Ian Kirkpatrick, I know wrote on that and I believe produced it.
Yeah, Ian produced it and co-wrote it.
Did you work with Ian, or was it the kind of thing where you had written something and then he just picked it up and ran with it? Or how did that?
That was a good story. So it's just an album cut on her album or whatever, but it was an awesome song. So we did it. We did it with Ian and this lady, Chantal Kraviachuk. She's Canadian.
Yeah. She actually had a big hit in the 90s.
Yeah.
I know her as an artist.
Yeah. And there was others. I'm trying to remember who else was on that song. But anyways, we wrote it at this castle in France. It's a writing retreat type thing.
Dude, are you BMI or ASCAP?
I'm BMI now, but at the time I was ASCAP. It was a Greg Wells thing. Greg Wells was a producer, and he was invite people, and you'd go to the castle for a week or two and just write songs all day.
I've actually done the castle as an ASCAP retreat. That experience, one of the greatest songwriting weeks of my life. So amazing.
Yeah, it's insane, dude. It's insane. It kicks your butt, but also, you're in one of the most beautiful places ever, and you're drinking wine and.
Yeah, it's like a summer camp for songwriters. You're with all people you don't know, some people you kind of do know. I love that.
So yeah, I went there as a top liner, just a lyrics and melody guy. And I was super out of my element because I had mostly been producing before that. So it was I was a little in over my head at the camp. But that song was basically a giant fight between all of the songwriters and Ian. Not to throw any shade, I love everybody that was on the song, but it was just an actual fight. So Chantal wrote something, and then there was more people. There was a bunch of writers, and we just started arguing over where the song should go. And then it was really late at night. Everybody got really pissed at each other, and we had a little bit too much wine, and people were actually starting to get really at each other. My only role in the song was to be the mediator. I didn't do anything else on the song. I was contributing to the arrangement ideas and kind of how this should go, how this should work, first chorus structure. But it was mostly to keep Ian and Chantal from fighting with each other.
Wow.
And I would say because of that, the song came to fruition. But had I not mediated, sometimes, it's not the actual songwriting in a session that's important.
Absolutely. Sometimes your role in a song can just be yeah, I was there and I kept these two people from fighting. So the song
Right.
turned out, you know?
I guess like the role that I embraced for years, and probably to my own detriment, and like this isn't me anymore at all when I'm in writing sessions, but my role for a long time was to be the person who was like trying to curate the songwriting session and be like, okay, that's cool. That's maybe not, let's run with this, and try to like scope out like what felt cool idea wise in the session. That's a really annoying role to play for everybody else in the session, usually, because it's not like, you're not the yes man, you're definitely the no man, or no woman. It doesn't make you any friends that much, but usually it leads to like really good songs more often than not. So, because like the first thing somebody throws out doesn't stick. Sometimes it does, but that was just like the role I chose to take for a long time. That was definitely the role I was doing in that session for If I'm Dancing by Britney.
Yeah, I know that for me, I'm used to writing. I started out writing a ton on my own, obviously, like just me and a guitar. So when I've started co-writing, especially in sessions when it wasn't even for me, I was so over opinionated because I was so used to like doing things my own way and not really having to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
That I think like towards the beginning, I had to get used to like chill and let other people be wrong, or let them maybe that thing that I thought was wrong will grow on me a little bit and be the coolest part of the song, you know? So definitely was a learning curve a little bit.
Yeah. And that song in particular, like we all hated it. And like at the end of the session, we were like, this sucks. Like we hate this song. And it ended up, you know, the longer it lived, the more we like kind of, I know Ian felt this way too. Like the longer we lived with this song, the more it was like, okay, this is actually something really, really special. And I don't think that me and him, or like some of the writers on the session, didn't actually get it initially. But then, you know, then we got it later, what the various writers were trying to do with the song. Yeah, it's hard to keep an open mind sometimes, especially when you're, you know, like you said, coming from a place where you write yourself and you have your own way of doing things, and that's worked for you. To take somebody else's way of doing things and embrace it is like kind of a stretch sometimes, but I guess that's part of the fun of it.
I love just anything Ian produces. He adds that, like, I don't know what it is. There's just like a certain glimmer to his production where it's like you can take like a B level song and he'll make it an A just by whatever he does to it, you know?
Yeah.
So that song in particular, though, I loved it. I was just stoked for him. He was like, dude, I have a freaking Britney Spears cut. Yeah. And then I listened to the song and it was, you know, it's a banger.
Yeah, he really killed it. That was like one of his first like bigger cuts as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's gone on to do a lot of other stuff.
Real quick, before we go to Stereo Hearts, I got to talk about video games.
Sure.
So you're not a writer on it, but you're a producer on it.
Yeah.
I actually know the guy when I was at the castle in France.
Yeah.
I was there with Justin, who was the writer with Lana Del Rey on video games.
Right.
And that was like the big deal. Like the guy that wrote freaking video games is here. And you know, we all kind of wrote together. But it's funny that our ties it into the castle there. So was that before or after Stereo Hearts?
It was around the same time. It was before, I think it was before Stereo Hearts came out. I think it was when we wrote it. The timeline's a little fuzzy, but I know me and my partner at the time were not big yet. It wasn't like, I don't think it had come out yet, either of them. But yeah, so there was this girl in New York, Lana, and she was going by Lizzie. And at the time before that, and our buddy who worked at EMI at the time, Jake Ottman, sent us some of her demos. She was signed there as a songwriter. And we kind of like parsed through the demos. There was like 20 or 30 of them. I was really like gravitating towards all of them. It was kind of like this Marilyn Monroe, like throwback thing going on. And then the one song that stood out to me was Video Games, because she was singing at a really low register, like more so than the other songs. Her manager she was looking to work with new producers in New York, and co-write stuff as well. But we ended up kind of reproducing the original demo that Justin and her had made. And then that ended up being like the final version of the song, like the final mix and the production and everything.
Cool.
We were like tweaking little lyrics and stuff as well, but most of the bulk of like the songwriting from the original demo was the same as what they had made. All the production we kind of did. It was similar to the demo in a lot of ways, but we kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that album, I would have thought it was produced, but the whole album produced by the same person or the same people, because
Yeah.
it's a very, she has a very cohesive vibe and sound.
Yeah. Well, they actually released that song as part of a 4-song EP before Born to Die that she released independently before she signed with Interscope. So like she wasn't signed at the time to anybody. She was just kind of like singing in bars to 10 people. She wasn't big. Like we just did the song because we liked it. We didn't actually think it was going to do anything.
That's just one of those songs that people know. It's like it's more of an important song than a hit song.
Yeah, it was not a huge hit, but it was really important for her, and I think it was important, namely for like girls and women. Like it was a huge generational like anthem. I think it was just like a really important song in terms of like culture, especially in the U.S. But yeah, it was hard to understand that until like later, years later. But it wasn't like it wasn't like a hit or anything. We didn't really make any money from the song at all. Yeah.
Well, it's like on first listen, you don't expect it. Like you said, she's singing real low, and like the production, it doesn't really elevate. It's like just this. It's more of this vibe. You're in this world. Like even of all Lana Del Rey songs, that's probably arguably her most famous song. Or her most
one of them,
known song for sure. But first time you hear it, you're kind of like, okay, this is kind of weird. But because of that vibe, because it's so different, it makes you want to listen to it again. It makes you listen a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something
like,
about that one.
For me, the songwriting is really cool on that because it's a character song. I mean, I don't know how Justin views it or Lana for that matter, but like I view it as a character song where she's singing in character. And that's kind of the character of Lana Del Rey. And I don't think before that song, that character really was quite existing like as it, it's kind of like, it's like she's singing it as somebody. You know what I mean by that? There's a layer. She's not singing it as herself. And maybe even there's another layer where like Lana's singing it as somebody else, in this like relationship where the significant other is just playing video games. And it's kind of like this, the sad girl trope of, this character she's created within the song. Not just as her like stage character.
Did you work with Lana with recording at all?
Yeah, I engineered her vocals and recorded her, cool. And then I played the piano part on the recording.
Oh yeah.
And then my buddy Dan did like a lot of the strings and programming and sounds, and then me and him basically as a unit like mixed the song as well. Pretty much everything you hear on the recording, we did, the three of us, in like a few days, basically.
Wow.
All the decisions made in those 3 days, there's so much leading up to that, the skills that were used in the recording and the singing on her end and the songwriting on Justin and her end and the engineering on our end, we had been working on for years and years, like our whole lives, basically. And maybe some of the skills that we pooled to make that a thing, we had learned like 2 months beforehand or a year beforehand. So all those sessions for songs that never got released or were terrible songs or whatever, you're always learning something new from those. And then you can apply those to whatever your big song ends up being. But yeah, that's kind of like the way I choose to look at it. It's all a process, and you can't get discouraged by the lack of progress in terms of like commercial success, because that shouldn't be your motivation anyways.
No, totally.
Yeah, I think that you just have to be in the right place at the right time with the right people, and a lot of luck is involved, but if you do enough music, eventually you could get lucky, if you put yourself in that position enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Stereo Hearts, let's get to that. Tell me about, I guess just how the song came about. Obviously it's weird fact that it's like rap and singing. Obviously that moment in time, there was a lot of that kind of song, but that one obviously stuck out. That was a big hit on the radio and everything. Gym Class, that was like the peak of their success. Tell me like just a little bit of insight about how that one was written. And
yeah, me and Dano, or Robopop, we had a writing session scheduled with this guy Amar Malik, who is from Virginia, and he had never done a writing session before in his life. But he was like, he could write a song. He played in like some bands in Virginia, and he was friends with Benny Blanco, and some of the guys from Reston down there. And then Benny at the time was like Dr. Luke's protege. He was on Kesha and all this stuff. So we were encouraged to take a session with him from this publisher, Marine, who wanted to sign him to a publishing deal, who never actually did. So yeah, we were about to just skip the session. It was like near the 4th of July or something, I think. And we wanted to go swimming or something with his girlfriend. So we were like, okay, let's actually do the session. We decided to do it very reluctantly. And then, yeah, we did like a day of writing with him and got a pretty cool song out of it called My Heart's a Stereo, which was the original title. And it was like a full-blown kind of like pop punk emo type song with a different verse and a whole different thing going on. However, the chorus was like exactly the same as you would hear it on Stereo Hearts.
Nice.
So we pitched the song around. A couple different bands almost took it, but never actually worked out. And then this A&R at Atlantic heard it, named Andrew Luffman, and he, I believe, was Gym Class's A&R, maybe.
Okay.
I want to say he was. He sent it to Benny Blanco, who Amar also knew. Benny loved it and then like went in on it. This was like his baby kind of. So we sent him all of our production from the demo. He used some of it, kept the chorus, and I believe that's when AdamLevine jumped on the chorus and sang that. And then I don't know what the chronology of like who sang first, Travi or Adam, but I know at some point both of them jumped on the song, and it turned into like this kind of mashup song that was being sent back and forth between LA and New York, and kind of turned into something that kind of feels like contextual within the concept of the song being like, you know, kind of like a mixtape mashup type thing. So it's a little random, the chorus superimposed against the verse, but I think it's kind of cool because of that in the context of the song.
Yeah, I'm always jealous of those kind of songs because it's like, man, like I was asking, like, how the hell did you write a mashup song, rap song, pop song? I'm sure a lot of them that we hear that are successful probably just started out like that, like somebody wrote a hook or maybe a full song that they just pulled the hook out of. You can't help but be jealous because A, the song is so good, and B, those songs are a lot of times like so undeniable, you know, just with the crossover and with the mixing genres, that it's just like, shit, I want to be a part of something like that, you know?
Yeah, that one, you know, that was a case of just different people being involved and doing their own thing, and it somehow working at the end of the day. Like Travi did the raps and they're incredible. You know, that's an amazing part of the song. Me and Amar and Dano did the hook, you know, and that was kind of the meat and potatoes of the song initially. Benny did the production and it's super good. So yeah, it was just like a collaborative effort. And then AdamLevine wrote the bridge. So just a bunch of people jumping on, and, you know, it worked out. The song that came out and didn't really do much initially. And then I know Adam gave it a big push. I think it was like season 1 of The Voice, maybe, or 2. Like that was actually kind of a little push that it needed just to do a shout out there. And it kind of took off from there on radio.
Yeah, I mean, we toured with Gym Class probably 2009, like right before that.
Cupid's Chokehold era.
Yeah, exactly. And they were, of course, with Decadence and Fueled by Ramen and Atlantic and stuff with Pete's label. Yeah, like you said, it's like the right people and the right timing. They were kind of building like this, you know, and then Adam on The Voice and all that stuff. And even, I mean, of course, Benny's production is always great, but it's like that song, the way it's produced, the way it's arranged, I mean, it's kind of undeniable, you know, and sometimes you can kind of roll your eyes at a song about like stereo and radio. Those are very like cliche and common things to use as a songwriter, I feel like. But for some reason, if they're done right, they're always awesome, you know?
Yeah. I mean, listening back to it, you know, if I were to listen to it today, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's kind of cliche, like it's whatever. But I know in the moment, like when we wrote it, it didn't feel like that. It felt really genuine and just felt like a heartfelt love song, to be honest. Yeah. And I don't know, I never really, you know, it just felt pretty natural to come out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't listen to it on the reg or anything, but I think it's like a solid song, and some people definitely liked it during its day. You know?
Yeah, I didn't mean that as a bad thing. I meant you took something that could very easily be a cliche.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that at all. You know, obviously if it was, people see through that shit, quickly.
Yeah, it's a cutesy song. It's like cute, I think that's the thing about it. It's not like hyper head level stuff. It's kind of cute, and I think it like works well for what it does, personally.
Yeah. I think it's great. And at the time I remember like kind of being bros with those guys. It was like, all right, here we go. It was like hearing that song was like.
Yeah. And I believe they all played on it too. I think they sent some parts to Benny and then he plugged them in. It was definitely a collaborative effort with the rest of the band as well. They weren't like in on a lot of the writing stuff, but I think that, I think it worked out, in the long run for everybody. And, I know they played it for a year or two there when they were doing the festivals and everything. So it was all good.
Oh yeah. This might not have been what you were a part of, but the arrangement wise, like another thing that I marvel at is when a song can start with a chorus. And a lot of times when I try that, by the second, third chorus, it's like, okay, I've heard this enough. You've got to really maneuver things very smartly to not overkill it with the chorus. This song has 4 choruses throughout the whole thing. And to start with the chorus, I think it's really cool that you get the chorus, but then you don't get the little post, you don't get that part right away. It goes straight to the verse.
Yeah.
So then the next time you get the chorus, it's followed by this post thing. So that makes everything fine at that point. Then you can hear it again. You get the post again. You get the bridge.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not sure if you had anything to do with the arrangement, but just as like a geek songwriter move, I was like, oh damn, that's how you can start with the chorus.
Yeah, it's a combination of the arrangement and the production on that one. So like when the chorus repeats, there's the production completely switches up a little bit. Like there's a backbeat suddenly for the later choruses, and there's not for the early one. So that helps a lot. If you're going to repeat choruses, try not to copy paste them, basically. But yeah, the original song was like an a cappella chorus up front, more or less. It was like really sparse, almost a cappella. That was kind of like what we felt was the strongest part of the song initially anyways. And that's kind of why the demo led with the chorus. But yeah, I think that was Benny Blanco a lot in terms of like the arrangement and making it all work together. I think he deserves a bulk of the credit on that song, like in terms of making it all work and curating and everything.
Do you remember what the old verses were at all?
Yeah, I have it on my computer still. Yeah, it's bad. Oh man. It was like more symbolism and metaphor, but I'm trying to remember. It was like music puns, a lot of music puns. It was like talking about running up a scale, do, re, mi, all the solfege, and it wasn't as good.
Well, Travi kind of went to some of those places, obviously, with all the musical innuendos.
Way cooler puns than we did. Like our puns were really weak on the first one.
Do you know if him or Adam had heard any of that stuff, or do you think they were just sent the hook?
I think they were just sent the hook. I think they told us like just send the hook over, and we'll go from there. I think that's what it was. People heard like the original demo, but there's only been a handful of people.
Sure. Did Benny hear the original?
Yeah, he heard it. Yeah. But yeah, the hook was and the chords and a lot of the strings and production and stuff they kept from that. So it wasn't like way off and it wasn't terrible sounding. Like it was pretty good for a demo. So like we got co-producer on the song too, because they used a ton of our stuff. It wasn't like completely different, but it was pretty different. The verses were completely different for sure.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that third guy that was like not even a songwriter? Did he go on to do anything else after that?
Who is this? Amar. No, Amar is the biggest songwriter out of all of us. He wrote Moves Like Jagger. Yeah, he wrote Moves Like Jagger and yeah, Amar's like the G now, dude. Well, he was for like 5 years. That was the first song that he ever co-wrote on with anybody. And he like hit a home run, the very first one.
Damn.
Like, dude. What are the odds of that, dude?
Because of that song, did he like get in with AdamLevine or something? And that's how Jagger came?
Dude, it was over. Yeah. He moved out to LA out of Virginia. He co-wrote with Benny on a lot of stuff, and like a lot of the Maroon 5 stuff after that he worked on. So Move Like Jagger. Wow. I think Daylight he co-wrote. Like he co-wrote a lot of their hits after that. But that was like the first one for him and for Benny as well. That was pretty cool.
I love that it's like you guys were like, should we bail on the session? I don't know.
Yeah, we were really close to bailing. My memory is kind of foggy, but I'm pretty sure I talked my partner into doing it. I was like, you should probably do it. Like, we already committed. So, again, my role was like very, very mediator, keep it from falling apart, man. Let's just get through it. And worked out once again.
Well, yeah, just like you said, it's like, man, you never know what day, is going to be the lucky day.
That was the day. Yeah, it was, yeah, that was kind of like the start of once that kind of popped, then it was like off to the races for music. Like, could have a career as a songwriter pretty much after that, for at least for a while.
Nice. Yeah. The fact that all of the chorus rhymes, are O rhymes, and you guys snuck in the U.
Yeah, the next to last one. That's on purpose. That's a little thing, because like then the one after that hits harder. Because that's the next to last vowel in the whole chorus. So I think we were actually stuck on that one for a while. We're like, maybe it should rhyme. I think I was probably like, we got to rhyme them all, hard ass about it. Well, but I think Amara was like, no, it's okay. It's okay not to rhyme every single line in the chorus. Yeah.
Well, I would think, I thought like the U was almost like, it's close enough. Like, people won't even notice, like, because it's yo, you kind of.
No, I think it was on purpose. Yeah. I think it was on purpose. Like, I think we did it on purpose to make the last line, which came right after that, hit harder. So I think it was like, okay, let's do you to set it up, just to like throw people just a little bit,
Nice. See, I'm like you. I would be like, no, dude, they got to rhyme. What are we talking about? We've got 6 words rhyme already. We got to get them all. Yeah. Maybe that's that case like we talked about earlier where, okay, let's back off in the room and think about some other ideas.
Yeah. Sometimes like the things that feel more natural will work better. It's not always the things that you would think would work the best.
Totally, dude.
Actually work.
Like, I mean, you hear all those stories of people like their biggest hits, like, oh yeah, I wrote that in 10 minutes. I didn't even think about it. And I can obsess over a lyric for like, months trying to get it just right. And in the end, it's like, does it matter? I don't know. There's no rules. There's no right way to do it.
There was a good story for that song that I just remembered. So like the melody, I have a voice note on my cell phone of the melody from the chorus of that, and dating back to like before that session even. So it was originally a melody that I think I had come up with for John Legend, because he was like looking for material and stuff at the time in New York. There's a voice note of that chorus melody that I got on my phone from back then. And I think I came into the session with that melody, and then we kind of fleshed it out from there.
Nice. So is that how you write a lot? Is melody first?
Each song's different. Like some of them are, I can write any number of ways. Like I could start with a beat that I make. I could start with a beat that somebody else makes and top line over it. I mean, at this point, like each song's a little different how to get to the end goal of having a song.
Yeah, totally. Same here. But I do find one in every few songs, you kind of have that lucky thing where it's like the very first thing that just rolls out of your mouth happens to be an awesome lyric with a great melody, Yeah,
those are the best ones, always.
Oh yeah, they really are. Those are the ones, like you said, where you're not even really trying too hard. It just kind of comes out. Whenever I have those days, I love that. And like, because of technology, you can just have your voice memo. Like when I started writing, it was like, man, I didn't really have anything to record it on. I'd write the lyrics down, and then I'd go out with my friend, at midnight when I got home, grab the guitar. If I still remember how the song went, then I knew it was good, and then I'd continue writing it. But now it's like so easy with like voice memos to be like, okay, I've got this really awesome idea. I don't have to finish it now. I don't have to, work on it too hard. I'm just going to voice memo it and go on with my day. And then it ends up being like you got 150 voice memos built up that are all could be potentially awesome, but nothing ever comes of them because you just you had that right in your pocket to record it. So you didn't have to flush it out or work on it.
Yeah. The convenience is sometimes like a hindrance for actually completing ideas. I get that a lot too.
It sucks to know how to balance it and like, because sometimes coming back to an idea is better. But if you have too many and you never come back to them, then you just,
Yeah, well, I guess like Yeah, I try to like once a year go through all my voice notes and dump them on my computer, and then like just delete the ones that are absolute garbage. And then I'll highlight the ones that are like, okay, kind of okay. And the ones that seem like promising, I'll highlight and put them in a separate folder with like 10 or so ideas. Very quickly, that folder will just get overwhelmed with really bad ideas.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, it's amazing sometimes going back and being like, man, I thought this was cool.
In the moment, yeah. I was on that subway platform and I was like geeking out because I thought this was like the coolest thing. And now it sounds horrible because I was really high and drunk, you know, or whatever. Yeah. Good curate, you know, good. Sometimes time is good because then you know it's not bad and you're not going to waste like 5 weeks working on a song that was awful.
Totally. But I'm loving lately, like, and I know I'm contradicting myself because I just said I step away too quickly and then come back to an idea.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times, even like if I know something is awesome and I come back to it like a couple hours later, just fresh ears, I will like, oh, like that should go here instead. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just so easy. I guess it's like subjectivity, like stepping away and coming back like with no, I don't know, like you're not in the moment anymore. You're not sucked into this one thing anymore. You can come back and you can look at it subjectively and be like, oh, it should totally go here, or it should totally hit this chord instead. Or, you know, I think that's the big thing, to kind of trust your ears rather than your like your heart or your instinct sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely need to step away from songs, even in the writing process. Like I'm a believer in that. Unless it's flowing and like you know for a fact if the song is just coming to you, like you're channeling it, like that happens. But if you're not channeling, you know, it's okay to step away for like an hour, 15 minutes, whatever. Max Martin does that. He goes, you know, he plays FIFA for a couple hours and then he comes back to the song. Oh, yeah. You know, that's his way. You know, other people, I play video games a lot. So like, I'll just go play video games for an hour and then go back to the song, and you will hear new things and you'll be like, oh wait, that's not right. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Like giving the song some space to live can inform your choice, and you actually save a lot of time that way sometimes, instead of trying to just like grind it out very quickly. I mean, if it's not coming quickly, just let it breathe, and yeah, you don't have to rush it.
It's kind of mind blowing how obvious it is when you do come back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I hear this 2 hours ago?
Right.
You know, the freshness, I guess, maybe of your ears or something, giving it a break.
Yeah.
It's always like obvious whether it's great or whether it needs a little tweak.
Like the really good session writers, like at the top of the game, like the Max Martins of the world, like they don't need as much space to understand those things as like everybody else. So I think the really great songwriters historically like are just quicker to understand what's working and what's not working about songs, as opposed to like the rest of us who have to take more time to like come to the same conclusions or not.
Right.
But I think, yeah, it's a gift that like some people have that are really good at.
Sometimes you just hear a lyric and it's like, oh man, I want to go write a song right now. Sometimes you hear, like I said, a production thing. It's like, oh my God, I got to go work on my production. I got to do something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Max is obviously one of the greatest of all time. You know, he's up there, I believe, with the Beatles as far as just success and
just
hits,
hits.
It's wild. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're all kind of trying to lift ourselves up to that level, you know, at all times. But
yeah, it's fun being a musician or a songwriter and just hearing other people's work and being really inspired by it, and that coming from like a positive place that you want yourself to like, oh, how did they do that? Or like, that's really clever, you know, instead of being intimidated by it or like feeling jealousy or anything like that. I think when you as a musician like gravitate toward the positive about each thing you hear, even if it's not your favorite song. Me personally, like I don't listen to the radio very much. Like 95% of it, I don't care for personally. But when I listen to a song, I do try to find something positive about it that I gravitate towards and be like, oh, I really like the drums on that song or something. And I think that keeps you in a healthier place musically, like as you're trying to improve and get better.
Sure. Whenever I hear a hit that I don't necessarily get right away, sometimes I'm like, okay, what is it that people are loving about the, you know, like you said, like, is it just the way the drums hit, you know, is it the beat, is it that cool lyric in the hook or whatever? sometimes, yeah, it's the songs that I don't get right away that make me say like, okay, what am I missing here? Or why does everyone love this song?
Yeah.
You know, but just that exercise alone of like, okay, what is it about this song? I think helps me grow as a writer and, you know, a producer, and just as a music fan. It's like, okay, what's the connection here?
Yeah.
Almost like a puzzle. I'm a board game nerd. You know, I like to kind of think of it sometimes like a puzzle. Production, I feel like, is a lot like that. Like we mentioned Ian Kirkpatrick earlier. There's just some things he does that I know he can elevate a song. It's not a hit to a hit. So it's like any song I'm working on or producing, it's always fun to be like, what's that like magic element? What's that thing that adds to this song to make it more special, to make it more fun, more cool, more relatable, more whatever, you know? And sometimes it could be just some weird sound, just some like, you know, like a production move that, damn, you know, that makes it hit harder.
Yeah, I think just making those choices is the most important part of being a producer. It's like you have to listen to the song. It's like, what does the song want to be its best version of itself? Does it want more stuff? Sometimes it wants way less stuff and like no sounds. Or it's just like you have to be attentive to what serves the purpose of the actual song and what serves the lyrics, and complement them and not get in the way of that stuff.
Sure.
Because, you know, a lot of people don't listen to music for the production. 80 to 90% of people aren't listening to that ill drum sound. They're listening to the actual song lyrics and melody, and that's what they care about, or the singer's voice. And so it's important not to get lost in the weeds on that stuff, because that's only stuff that like music nerds even care about that much. But yeah, it's important, but it's like, yeah, keep it in the lens of like what the average listener would also get out of the song as well.
Right. Our Plain White T's bass player takes credit for Hey There Delilah staying acoustic.
Yeah.
He claims that when he heard the demo that he told me, he's like, that song's got to stay acoustic. But
he
that
gets
was
the credit,
that was like my vision the whole time. But because he said that to me, he feels like he's like, it was all his idea.
Because like in his head, you were like, I'm going to do this thing that's like ELO. There's going to be strings and freaking 808s all over this shit. Yeah.
Full orchestra, totally, dude. Thank God for Mike Rotondo.
It's an amazing song. It's like, it's the most effective version, I think, of itself.
But like, why can't I do that? Like, why isn't every song, like we said, that was just another song, another day of writing, another idea.
Yeah. It's part of the journey. I mean, think about, you know, when you have time and you're sitting in your room alone during the quarantine, because everybody has a lot of alone time right now. What are the things that led up to that song? Like, were there other songs where you had that melody? Was there a chord progression? Because sometimes you'll be like, oh, wait, you know, you'll remember things about the song that like weren't as effortless as they originally seemed, like at the time. You know, we tell ourselves like that song just came out, but I don't know if the songs actually just come out. I think there's like some brain neurons crossing, like leading up to writing a song like that. That maybe you weren't aware of. Maybe there was a melody in a different song you heard and that inspired a jump off.
No, that's cool. I've never really thought of it like that. To me, it was like I was writing an album and that was just one of the songs, you know? Yeah. I mean, dude, honestly, sometimes the inspiration of an occurrence in your life is just so strong that it forces you to write something. And that doesn't always make it a better song. You know, sometimes the more personal, the more meaningful songs to you mean shit to somebody else. But yeah, in that case, it was like, man, I met this girl that was really pretty and I told her I'd write a song about her. So shit, I guess I better write a song. And I kind of want to impress her. So maybe I tried that much harder subconsciously. I don't know. I don't know the formula, but yeah.
Well, we'll never know.
No, but I like that idea. Like thinking back, what was I listening to back then? What was, you know,
you had to be influenced by something, because the structure on that song is pretty cool. On first listen, you're like, okay, I get this, like a folk pop thing. But there's a cool structure to it, and in the arrangement and like the approach to the chant and everything else that it feels like a little outside the box for what you would normally hear back then. It harkened me back to like being at a punk rock show and like the emo songwriter kid came up and like started the song, and you thought it was going to be one thing, but it actually turned into this really amazingly written song. It was just like really good.
Well, thanks. kind of like video game. I was like, oh, this song is awesome. But like, that didn't sound at all to me like it was going to be a hit or like a popular, you know what I mean? It was just like so chill that I thought we had other songs on that record that were like the more upbeat anthemic songs that were going to be the ones that, you know, people connected to more. But like we said about video games, it's like, sometimes it's like, no, she sings low and weird in this, like this one, just for whatever reason, this has that thing where you're forced to like stop and be like, pay attention, basically, you know?
I
like
think
Delilah makes you pay attention.
Yeah, it makes you listen to the lyrics, which are actually really great. And I think, that might just be a case of like staying out of the way of the song and letting it speak to people.
Yeah, well, that's the fun part. You never know, and there's no right or wrong. You know, you can produce something crazy and it's the best thing, or you can have an acoustic guitar and that's the best thing. That's kind of what makes it fun, right?
Yeah, indeed.
No rules, no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah. For my history in music and my relationship to music, I'm more of just like a pure songwriter, and that like sit down at the piano, sit down at the guitar and play the song. And like, that's my wheelhouse, basically. People like Ian are producers, more producer oriented people. Their wheelhouse is like the nuts and bolts of sonically like making it an amazing song. But I still have a really good respect for like just being able to sit down and on your instrument and play an amazing song.
Well, cool, man. Awesome songs.
Thank you. With all the time that I'm not spending like doing tons of songwriting sessions these days, I like run a little indie label called Blanket Fort. That's like my collaborative effort. So we put out new songs from really talented artists like Adam Melcher. We did his debut EP and some other folks. And then I do my own artist thing too, called Baby Fuzz, which is like a really very genre non-specific project where like every song's a different genre and I jump all over the place. And, you know, it's kind of like glam rock influenced a bit. So that's kind of like my latest creative venture. And it's super fun for me. It's very DIY. There's no label, there's no anything. So it's like just me putting songs out and occasionally touring, and it's super fun.
Cool, man. Awesome talking with you. Like I said, again, kick-ass songs, dude.
Thank you.
Love it.
You too.
Yeah.
You too.
Thank you, man.